Assalamualaikum and good evening. Today we are from group 32. Are going to make a discussion about our poem that we have created based on the discussion from previous video. So my name is Nur Aina Nazira binti Nazim and my matrix number is 198669.
Okay, my name is Nur Nadia binti Iskandar with matrix number 199054 and I'm from Department of Civil Engineering.
My name is Nurajah Nabila binti Muhammad Azam and my matrix number is 198267 and I'm also from Department of Civil Engineering.
Okay, my name is Nofarizati binti Muhammad Jantai and my matrix number is 196495. I'm from Department of Civil Engineering.
Hello, my name is Lokman Hakim Roslan. My matrix number is 197475 and I'm from Department of Civil Engineering.
My name is Lukman Hafiz bin Arman Shah. My matrix number is 209371 and I'm from the Department of Forestry.
Okay, so for today's poem, we have choose to make a poem based on a theme called health. And before we further ado with our discussion on the poem, I would like for Nadia to explain a brief about this task for this video.
Okay, thank you, Aina Nazira. So basically for this week, we are from group 1, which is Lukman Hafiz, Nadia, and also Aina Nazira. We will present our poem that we create for this video discussion. So basically for this poem, for the theme health, right? So we create the poem inspired by today's pandemic era, which is related to the COVID-19. The poem we are writing is actually related to the COVID-19, have something like awareness to the COVID-19, something like that. So I think we have Lukman Hafiz to read our poem for you guys to hear.
Okay, I will start reading the poem.
Yes.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Don't breathe next to me. You might get me sick. Your nose is so red that it looks like a brick. Your eyes are all puffy. You're sneezing a lot. I'm leaving the room. I don't want what you've got. Don't cough when I'm here. You might pass it on. For goodness sake, cover your mouth when you yawn. And don't touch my food, lest your cuties adhere, thus making me sick for the rest of the year. The last thing I need is a cold or a flu, and so I am thinking I'll bid you adieu. I'm much better off wherever you're not. Don't breathe next to me. I don't want what you got. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to Lukman Hafiz for the great poem that you have recited. So, we would like to discuss about the poem that has been recited. So what do you guys think about this poem? Is it suitable for our theme for this video discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what is your reason, Lukman?
The line is catchy and it's really relatable to the current situation. It's already convey what we have been experienced.
Yeah, I think it's a good enough reason for why the poem is a great poem. So what about Farah Izzati? Do you have any comment about this poem?
I think that the poem is very good and there are so many word phrases and it's very long poem. It's also giving the vibe of the issue, which is what we already know about the COVID-19, all right? Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Farah. What about Lukman Hafiz? What do you think about this poem?
I think it's a great poem to explain the issue, and I also like the rhymes.
Okay. Nadia, do you have something to say?
Nothing much, just same thing like you guys said. It's quite long. It's catchy, just like Lukman said, and I think it's very suitable with our current situation right now.
And Najwa?
As for me, I like to touch about the language level of this poem. It's not too, it doesn't use too much vocab that is hard to fathom. So the poem is very suitable for children, like everyone could understand this poem. So it's nice, very friendly.
Okay, so as for me, I think this poem relates a lot to the current situation, which we all must know. If we have a flu, that's an indicator that we have COVID-19. And this poem has a lot of advices, which is useful for us to use and to be a reminder to everyone who hears this poem. And the lines are easy, just like how Najwa said. It's a friendly kind of poem. So I think it's a great poem to be shared with people as an advices and also reminder to everyone. Okay, so what are we going to do next?
Okay. So
So
we can talk verse by verse and discuss about the meaning, maybe.
yes, that would be great.
So,
So now we are going to proceed with a discussion on the poem verse by verse so that we can have a more deep understanding about this poem and what does it want to tell us about. So let's get started with verse 1.
Don't breath next to me.
Okay. So the first verse is, don't breathe next to me. You might get sick. You might get me sick. Your nose is so red that it looks like a brick. So what do you guys think about this verse? Does it give you a deep meaning about the verse?
I think that the first line, don't breathe next to me, is very kind of mean to the people that have the flu, you know? Like, don't breathe
Yeah,
next
I
to me,
think-
go away, don't come near me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Got it.
I
And
think
then what about others?
the verse is good for now situation because it's something that we have to concern about, because for now flu is not a normal thing for us, right? Because the
Yes.
COVID-19 might be everywhere, so I think it's a good way to 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 apa way? It's a good way
To advise.
okay.
Advice.
I think it's a good way to advise people that have flu that don't breathe next to me, something like that, because it can be berjangkit apa?
Easy.
Contagious.
Contagious.
Apa?
Contagious. Infection boleh. Infection tak. Contagious.
Contagious.
Because a flu is a contagious disease.
Okay. And what about others?
And I think the last line, that it looks like a brick, is something like metaphor, because a brick there,
Yeah.
a red brick, something rose pula, red nose. Someone having flu must have a red nose, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
we give the same meaning as a brick.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Nadia. And what about Najwa? And what about Lukman Hafiz? What do you want to say about this first verse?
Don't breathe next to me, like Farah said, is a very mean line. But however, it is justified. It is justified for our current times because of COVID, because of the flu.
That's a good point about it. Lukman?
I think this verse is direct message for everyone not to put next to them, next to their among them, because they might make others sick too. That's it.
Yes, that's a good point too. Okay, so we are going to go to the next verse. The next verse is your eyes are all puffy. You're sneezing a lot. I'm leaving the room. I don't want what you've got. So for me, this verse kinda is a good advice to people to remind the ones near us that we have a flu. So we don't want people to get flu by me. So what do you guys think about it?
For me, I think this verse is talking about social distancing. So you have to aware of your distance, I guess.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
also want to add that
That's a good point too.
I also want to add that if you see the first line, it all says about the person who have the flu. They say that their eyes are all puffy. It's all showing the characteristic of people that are sick and having flu, right? So
Yes.
they have a trend where they showing and says how people that have flu will physically look like. At the first verse they say that your nose is red, and this one's like your eyes are all puffy.
Yes, that's a good point too. It shows symptoms about how a person who has a flu.
Yes.
And do we want to go to the next verse, the third verse?
Sure.
Okay, so the third verse is don't cough when I'm here. You might pass it on. For goodness sakes, cover your mouth when you yawn. So what do you guys think about this verse? I
For
think
the previous verses, like Farah said, it's the previous verses said about the symptoms. Also for this specific verse, it said about the precaution that we must take when we have flu, such as don't cough when I'm here and cover your mouth when you yawn.
yes, that's a great point too. What about others?
I agree with Hafiz.
Okay, Hafiz has a great point. And Najwa, do you want to talk something about this verse?
So for this verse, I think that the cover your mouth when you yawn line is it's a sound advice, but then it could be very mean. Like maybe he could word it differently. Okay, that's all.
Yes, I think what Najwa is saying is kind of have a good point, because from the first verse we could see that the sound of this poem that we have created sounds a bit mean, and maybe for some people they can take it as an offense, and maybe we should try to improvise more about this poem. And next we are going to the fourth verse. Okay, so the fourth verse is, and then so don't touch my foot, let your cooties adhere, thus, thus making me sick for the rest of the year. So how about this verse? What do you guys have? What do you guys want to say about this? For me, I think it's a good advice to tell people that we shouldn't just touch others' food because we don't want to spread disease to their food. especially if you don't wash your hands before eating. You must not touch others' food in case you have harmful diseases. I think so. So what about others?
I think for this like last second lines of this verse is very like exaggerate too much. Just making me sick
Hyperbole.
for the rest of the year. Right.
Yeah.
That's
They're
kind of
using
too
the
over dramatic
Yeah.
line. We got there. So what about this? Is there anyone wants to say something about this verse, or we should proceed to another one? Proceed.
Proceed.
Okay. So the next verse would be, the last thing I need is a cold or a flu, and so I am thinking, I'll bid you adieu. I think this verse is kind of nice, sounds rhyme to me, and it has a good advice too. So what about artists? Do you want to say something about this verse? Do we have anything to improvise in these lines or something?
I think that the persona in this poem is talking to the other person, which is obviously sick. However, in this particular verse, we can see that the sick person were not hearing to the persona's advices and his precautions and everything. So this verse is saying farewell to the sick person because the sick person is not adhering to his advice.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Lukman Hafiz, for the good point. The next verse would be the last verse, which is, I'm much better off wherever you're not. Don't breathe next to me. I don't want what you've got. For this last verse, I think it's a bit rude for the persona to tell other people, to tell the sick person, which have the flu. Maybe we should improvise on making the lines more kinder instead of saying just, I don't want what you've got with that exclamation mark. Yes, it's kind of a rude line. You got that. Okay. So what about others?
The line "I don't want what you've got" has actually been said in the first verse, I think. Yes, in the earlier verse, because he wants to give emphasis on that line. I don't want what you got, because he really doesn't want what the sick person has. He really doesn't want to get sick.
Don't you
So
think that
that
the
line is
line
suitable there.
kind of rude for you or me?
In other situation, it would be rude because what kind of person would say that to his friend or something kan? But because of the person of the sick person has the flu, so the rude statement is justified, especially during these COVID times.
That's a good point too. Thank you for your good point. So, do others have anything to say about this last verse?
Yeah, for the overall comment, maybe we should improvise a little bit of the verse, maybe to make it less offensive, and maybe but I think it's good because a poem language has a different kind of way to tell people to convey the message. I think it's okay, but
Yes. That's good, Nadia. That's good. So, what about Farah? Do you want to say something?
I think I agree with Nadia. Yes, that's totally correct.
Okay, so we have done the whole discussion about the verses on the poems, and we already talked about what to improvise in this poem. And that is all from our group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Nas.
Okay, thank you guys.